Good morning, Tom Soane here, and today I'm going to answer a brilliant question, which is, where could I invest £100,000 for 11 months in order to make an 8 to 10% return on that investment? Really good question. I guess you've got 100 grand of cash just sat there and you want to know what to do with it, but maybe you need it back plus profit within 12 months. Makes sense. I see it all the time. And the good thing about this is that there are loads of different things you can do. And it's not just about property either. There are other things that you can do to generate a return on investment. Now, one thing I will say is that I definitely am not a qualified financial advisor or anything like that. So you should get advice from a financial advisor. But the question was, what would I do to invest £100,000 for 11 months in order to make an 8 to 10% return? Brilliant question. Great fun. It gets the creative mind going. My imagination is running wild. So let's have a go. Now, first thing I would say is that if it was me, I could probably do a flip in that space of time. And a flip is where you buy a property, you do it up, you increase the value, and then you sell it for a profit. I'd probably expect to make 25% from doing it like that. But if you don't have the contacts, if you don't have a property broker like me or loads of sourcing agents being able to generate you these awesome flip deals, then that might be quite difficult. Also, if you don't have the contractors to be able to carry out those refurbishments, that might make it a little bit more difficult as well. So I'm assuming that you're not going to just do a flip. So move on to the next. There are also risks involved in doing flips. What if it doesn't sell again? What if the refurb goes wrong? Buying is absolutely vital in doing that. But again, assuming you're not going to do a flip, so let's forget about that. The first thing I would say is you could become a lender. Now, wait before you switch off to that, before you say, no, I'm not lending my money to people I don't know. I don't mean that. Lending money to a property investor is a very safe, reliable, and fast way to make profit without really doing too much. And a lot of property investors and investors forget about this side of things. Now, if you're going to lend that money to a property investor, and by the way, I am going to run a webinar on lending to property investors and developers. So just drop me an email or a comment or a message or whatever if you want me to send you a link to that. But that's a brilliant one, which gives you all the information that you need, all the documents you need, all the due diligence, all the preparation, all the legal stuff as well. So we'll cover that another time. But right now, I'm just giving you the basics where you could lend to a property investor. If you are going to do that, you've definitely got to use a solicitor to make sure that the loan facility you're setting up and the loan agreements are in place correctly. You've got to do your due diligence. You've got to get the values right with good comparable evidence of other sold properties, not just properties on the market. Ignore properties on the market. Sold, completed properties. You've got to get the rent values right. You've got to make sure that the demand is there. And again, I'm not going to go through it now, but there are ways that you can analyze free information on Rightmove, on Zoopla, to gauge what the actual demand is for properties in that area. You need to do that as a lender so that you can make sure you've got the highest chance of getting your money back. You've also got to look at the construction of the property. You've got to analyze the refurbishment of the property to make sure that it's going to add value and it's the right refurbishment. You're not paying, the investor's not being quoted £40,000 just to do a kitchen and bathroom. So you've got to make sure that you do that due diligence. If you're going to lend money to a property investor, then you could ask for 10 to 15%, depending on the deal. There has to be profit in it for the investor. It's not all about you. But if you get this bit right and you've got a good solicitor with you and you get the legal bit set up where you have a good loan agreement in place, and I've got a loan agreement if you need it, but a good loan agreement in place where you take a first charge on that property. And that means whatever happens, if that property is sold, you are paid first without fail. And you can do all of this through a solicitor. You can do it through good paperwork, good due diligence. And there are things that you should do within that, but I'll go through that another time in that property investor lending webinar that I'm going to be working on. So again, send me a comment or a message or an email, tom@pinkstreet.co.uk, and I'll send you a link to that webinar. It's all free. All of this is free. I'm not bothered about making money from this. I enjoy doing this. It generates good business for my letting agencies and my property broker and my estate agencies. So I'm happy that that works and this is free. Anyway, also, by the way, you can actually charge monthly interest payments if you do lend money to property investors. Just something to think about. If you've got a bit of money just sat there, or you've got equity sat there, or you've got money coming to you and you want to know what you can do with it to make profit, then there are loads of different things you can do. You don't have to buy a bloody property and do that. You don't have to know about property. You could just get a good solicitor and lend, make money free. It's free money, really. If you think about it, all you have to do in that whole instance is probably spend half a day going to the solicitor, agreeing the deal, doing the due diligence. That's all you have to do. Half a day, simple as that. And you'll make 8 to 10% return on your £100,000. And the best part of that is you're not really going to make much more than that if you bought a buy-to-let property. Well, unless you buy it through a property broker, but if you just buy a standard buy-to-let property on the open market, you're not going to make more than that. So, yeah, it's a really good way to make a good return on your investment without actually spending much of your time. So what other ways could you do? Okay, so £100,000 and you want to make 8 to 10%. Now, if you're a business owner, then look, I know I veered away from property and normally I talk about property, but funnily enough, I am launching a business podcast. So why not? I'm going to talk about business as well. And any property investors should, or of course, you need to educate yourself about property investing and property and money and all of those things. But you should also know about business too. You should really analyze business for sure. So anyway, if you're a property investor, then you've also got to think about business too. If you're a business owner and you want to make a return on your £100,000 in 11 months, then figure out what was the best marketing channel you used. What was the thing that you spent money on that generated the most incoming customers for your business? Figure that out, put your 100 grand on it, and then pay yourself back from your company plus profit. If you want, you might decide to put that money into your business and leave it there if it's working. Why not? Or let's have another look. You could go on to, you could go on to Amazon and you could use Amazon Analytics to find out what small price products or whatever sell. You could find out what products sell loads and then go on to Wish, buy a ton of them and sell them all on Amazon. If you set yourself up an Amazon shop, I think it costs like 30 quid a month or something like that for an Amazon shop. And then you could buy a load of stuff off Wish or Alibaba Express or all of those sorts of places. You know, the real low price Chinese type places that you could just buy stuff from and then sell them on Amazon. There you go. Maybe a bit of research into that, but you could do that. Or you could buy company shares. You could go on something like IG.com or Trading 212 or something like that, and you can buy company shares and then cash them in 11 months. Now, that's risky, definitely risky, because you need to try and figure out which companies are going to produce a good profit or a good bit of growth. But one way or another, definitely have a look at buying company shares. Talk to other people about that as well. Back to property, I think I forgot to mention that if you've got a portfolio already, if you're an existing landlord, then you could use that money to add to your existing portfolio. Meaning you could buy if you've got a property right now, then you can add to it. You can convert it. You can extend it. You can convert the loft. You could refurbish it. You could use that £100 to increase the value of your entire portfolio, and then you can refinance it and get that money back out, plus the profit. That might work too. One thing you should never do, which anybody in business or anybody involved in money or finance or investing will definitely agree with me here. Do not leave it in your bank. Terrible place to leave your money, because if you're not investing your money and you're leaving it in the bank, all the bank is doing is investing your money in the same places that you could invest your money. All they do is they buy shares in companies and then cash them in when they go up, and then they buy them cheap and so on. So all the bank is doing is what you should be doing, but they're using your money rather than you using your money. So just to recap on those things, if you've got some money, it doesn't have to be £100,000. If you've got some money and you want to invest it, but maybe you're a little bit apprehensive about buying a property because you might need it back quickly, I don't know, then there is a very fast way to make, or a very easy way to make profit. You can lend it. And if you speak to a good sourcing agent, then they will know people that could use your cash in order to buy a property, flip it, sell it, buy it, do it up, refinance it, whatever, in order for you to get your money back plus profit, and in order for them to make a profit too. But like I say, I am going to do a webinar on lending money, because this is an area that so many property investors miss. As a property investor, you think that you've got to buy property to be a property investor. And you think that I'm not going to lend my money because I'm not going to make enough money. I'm not a lender. I'm not a money lender. But actually, if you buy a buy-to-let, straight buy-to-let property from the open market, you're doing well if you get between 8 and 10%. But you're taking a lot of risk. You're taking the liability for that property. If the tenant doesn't pay rent, if the tenant smashes your property up, if you have to evict your tenant, then you're taking that liability. If you do the correct due diligence and you do it well enough, then you could lend to a reliable property investor and they can do all the work, and you will always own that property because you take that charge over the property. So anyway, hopefully I've convinced you, and you'll still make the same money. This is the best part about it. Less time, same money. I've lent money before for a property investor to go and buy a property, do it up and sell it. And it was really confusing because I gave the money over. I had the correct loan agreements. I did my own due diligence as if I was doing it myself. And then I think it took something like 8 months or 9 months. 9 months later, I had the money back plus profit. It was fantastic. Didn't even realize. And I think I spent about 4 hours in total doing due diligence and going to the solicitors. Very interesting. But also, one little extra tip. If you are going to do this, then get the property investor that you're investing in to keep you updated. And maybe you could schedule monthly updates so that you can learn how well the refurbishment's going, how the sale's going, what interest you've had, what offers you've had. Treat it like an investment, one that you're going to keep an eye on. Oh, and one last tip. Tell your accountant. If you're going to do this, then tell your accountant, share the loan agreement with them, show them the transaction that took place so that they can then make sure that on your balance sheet, it shows as a debt owed to you. Okay, that's it. That's a cracking question. I love that one. That really gets the imagination going. What would you do if you had 100 grand right now, cash in the bank, and you needed to invest it in something in order to get a return within 11 months? What would you do? Interested to know. All your ideas will be shared everywhere here. So chuck them in the comments. Chuck some ideas in the comments. And if you're on my YouTube channel, by the way, then hit subscribe, please, because I've just scheduled a ton of awesome videos to come out to everybody. I took a few months off because I bought a load of companies and I wanted to focus on getting those through. But now I'm back and I'm loving this again. So let me know what you think. Subscribe, share it. If you think someone else could use this, then share it. It all helps. It all helps. My mission is to try and help as many people as I can make the most of their money, get into property investing, but do it correctly. Right, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Speak to you all later. Bye-bye.